Okay. Perfect. I guess people are coming in. I'll just give have a few seconds, few minutes, and then we'll get started. I have this up here. Alrighty. So just give it a few seconds so that people could come in. But hello, everyone. My name is Tiara. I'm excited to talk to you today about journaling. And yeah, more people will join as we go on, but we can just get started with the group that's here so far. And yeah, so thanks for coming to this Avengers Assemble, a support system journaling workshop. I'll talk a little bit more about what that means, but let me start off by introducing myself so that you know who I am. Like I mentioned, my name is Tiara. My pronouns are she, hers, and I am a leadership and career coach located in Chicago. I'm also a certified life coach, and a big part of my work, I definitely am a big personal and professional fan of journaling in general. I think it is really helpful. We'll go over some of the ways that journaling can help you from a mental health and emotional health perspective. But I have been journaling, oh my gosh, since I was, since I could write, really. I would always have little what were those called? Those Lisa Frank journals. I had the journals in the folders, and I would just have all of those growing up, and that's where I kept all of my notes, story ideas, and thoughts about life and things like that. So journaling is near and dear to my heart, but I also use it as a coach with clients. A big part of it is encouraging people to journal in every aspect of their life. So journal about relationships, journal about work, and things like that. And if you've been to any of the past Fandom Forward programs, I have done a program called We Journal, We Resist in the past that usually has to focus on journaling, but in particular using it for racial battle fatigue and identity-based battle fatigue more broadly. And so I'm excited to be here again to do this workshop, this time with a Avengers bent, which I'm excited about. So dope, so we can just get right into it, talk about some safe space rules. So I like to just start off by setting the space because I think it's important that we understand what commitments we're making to each other in this space. So a few things. One, feel free, obviously this is a journaling workshop, take notes. I am not, you can use whatever notes you would like, so I'm a pen and paper type person, but if you're an iPhone notes person, or a Galaxy Notes person, or a Trello, or Evernote, or whatever else you use to take notes, feel free to keep track of what's happening in this presentation. A big part of this, take what works and leave what doesn't. We'll talk a little bit about accessibility as it has to do with journaling in a bit. But yeah, not everything in this presentation is going to connect with you, right? So it's okay to be nope, that doesn't work, but this thing works. So take what works, leave what doesn't. Feel free to ask questions. I do have my eye on the chat, as well as Skylar as well will let me know when things come in. So yeah, feel free to ask questions and also add knowledge if you, I'm a journaling expert in my own way just from doing it for so many years, but I'm also not under the assumption that I know everything. So if you have particular journaling, writing, experience as well, whether personal or professional, put it in the chat. I would love to see what you all come up with. Foster connections. As people are writing different things in the chat, feel free to connect. Say, I'm also excited for this part. I'm also interested in this. And then yes, as always, let me know if any accessibility needs come up. I don't know what that looks like, but just let us know in the chat if you need anything throughout the course of this presentation. We definitely want to be inclusive and make sure that everybody feels safe here. So I tried to make this presentation through that bent as well. But yeah, are there any other, I want this to be a collaborative space. Are there any other safe space rules that we should add during our time together? Because I do hope that we share, and I do hope that we ask good questions and things like that. If there's anything you would like, just feel free to add it into the chat, and I can mention it as we go on. But these are just a few base ones that I feel are a good start. Awesome. Okay, so objectives. More introduction, but just want you to understand what you're going to leave with this workshop. So first thing, to learn about how journaling can help you more generally in your self-care practice. So if you've gone to past journaling workshops with me, you know that we'll typically talk about journaling and mental health, how it sort of helps. So we'll talk a little bit about that and ground the presentation in that research. Then we'll develop an individualized journaling practice. I'm always excited for this part. This is where we'll dive a little bit more into what you want journaling personally to look like for you and how you can add it into your life. Then we'll identify some valuable support systems in our lives. A big part of this presentation is about the people who surround us, the relationships we have with ourselves, and the people who influence us as well. So we'll talk a lot about support system. That's sort of going with the Avengers or teamwork sort of theme. So we'll talk about that. And then we'll also talk about we'll do a few journaling prompts to figure out what our community needs in particular are, personally. And then we'll also talk about important connections that we either have in our lives currently that we love, or connections that we'd like to bring into our lives as well. Awesome. Okay, so getting into the nitty-gritty. Now we're getting into the research a little bit. So we're going to talk about journaling in community and support systems today. So I did do just a tiny bit of research to include here. This middle bullet point is not supposed to be there, but yes. So first thing to know, journaling improves your mood, reduces anxiety, regulates your emotions. These are all things that we've known for a while. And this is according to WebMD, but just in general, journaling and creative writing has been shown to help people with their mental health, people especially who have anxiety disorders or PTSD. Journaling really helps you to process through the tough experiences that you've had and personalize them in a way that feels meaningful or helpful for you. So we do know that. There is research even that shows that journaling can speed up physical healing as well. And so that's something else to keep in mind. The most helpful kind of journaling is also gratitude journaling. So that's something we'll talk a little bit about. There is some research that shows that if you go to your journaling practice and you're constantly writing negative things, such as oh, I hate that person, I'm so sick of this job, things like that, that actually shows that you have negative mental health experiences. So try not to focus so much on the negative when you're journaling. Try to make sure that it's either a balance or that you're mostly focused in gratitude and joy and things like that. Some community stats that will also influence this presentation. So 71% of millennials and Gen Zers say that they identify as feeling lonely. And I think that that's a big part of this presentation. I want us to think about who do we go to for support in our lives in different areas of our life, and how do we also turn to ourselves and learn how to support ourselves and self-soothe as well. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Another thing that we know is having a sense of belonging helps people to, once again, manage stress, build resilience. And so what we want to do is think about the communities that are important to us and start to invest in those communities. And if we don't have communities that are important to us, how can we start to build those? So we'll do that a little bit throughout this presentation. And yes, folks, I'm glad that some of you came to my last workshop and that you started journaling as a result. We'll talk about a little bit about how to maintain practices, but journaling is there for you, whether you're doing it actively or not. So we'll talk a little bit about that. But awesome. Okay, so getting started. So now we're going to talk a little bit about just generally how to start a journaling practice. Some of you may remember this from previous presentations, but these are typically the 3 tips I give when we're getting started. First of all, clarifying your journaling intention. And so when we're thinking about intention setting, it's like goal setting, but I like to say it's a more it feels like a less capitalist way of saying goal setting. It's like intention. Like, I intend to do these things, but if I don't, I am not a machine, and it is okay if I do not get everything done. So I like to say intention rather than goal. So as we're thinking about journaling, let's ask ourselves why. Why do I want to start a journaling practice? What am I hoping to get out of journaling? The example that I usually like to give is I love when people have journals for specific time periods in their life. So I fairly recently read Becoming by Michelle Obama. And when I read her book, she said that she has an on and off like journaling practice from when she was in college. And she journaled her first year of college, her first year of marriage, her first year as a mother, and her first year like in the White House. And so she doesn't keep a consistent journaling practice where she does it every single day, but she chooses moments where she knows that she'll need journaling, whether it's like a transition time or just like something new is happening in your life that you know you want to keep track of, and then she'll journal. So once again, we have people like Michelle Obama doing it, and they're not doing it consistently, and they don't have like, it doesn't have to be a perfect process, but just ask yourself, like, what is journaling going to fulfill in your life right now? What does it look like on a daily basis for you? How much time can you actually give to it? There are people even who have gratitude journals that are like one line, like just your one thing you're grateful for every day, and that's still journaling and that's still valid. So we want to start off by thinking about journaling intentions. So if you have any journaling intentions, feel free to pop those in the chat now before we move on. But yeah, journaling intentions are great. For me personally, let's see, I've used journaling usually when I'm being more intentional with my journaling practice. It has to do with travel. So it'll be like, oh, I know I'm taking a 15-day trip and I know I want to journal every day while I'm there to really like soak in the experience. So I'll take a specific journal for that. But then I also have my like everyday journal that I'll journal in. Usually every day, but sometimes I'll skip a day or skip a few days and it's not a problem. So first thing we want to do, clarify our journaling intention. Why are we journaling? What is the purpose? The second thing we want to do is find our journaling or reflective medium. I will always say this. I think it's inaccessible to assume that everybody has the tools to just sit and like write for a lot of different reasons. So I like to call it journaling in its essence is a reflective medium. It's something that you do that allows you to reflect on your experience and think through and process your experiences. So journaling does not have to be physical. I have a notebook, I sit down and I journal. Journaling can be those like random poems that you keep in your iPhone app, in your iPhone notes. Journaling can be your Pinterest board. It can be a visual thing. I have some friends who draw and like make little cartoons of like their day or whatever. And then journaling, if we're really being radical here, journaling can even be intentionally processing an experience with a friend, right? Like it's a way of you reflecting on your experiences and thinking about how you can get better, what you learned, and things like that. So that's sort of what we're doing. You do not have to have like an official journal. I also do have some friends who do audio files. They'll do videos where they'll just be like, yeah, here's what I did today. I like thinking of our Instagrams and social media as journaling in a way, right? Like we're keeping a record of the things that we're learning and the ideas we have and the pictures we've taken and the memories we're making. So let's break out of journaling just being writing, and let's think about all the different ways that we can journal and be reflective throughout our daily life. And the last thing is choose tools you love. And this is the best part, right? Like my favorite thing is going to like Paper Source and just buying expensive new journals I don't need. But yes, like think of like what tools you like, what colors you like. I'm a big person with pink. I'm a big person with anything with mermaids or anything ocean life like. So I think my current journal has an octopus on it and it looks really cool. So yeah, what tools do you enjoy? What kinds of pens do you like to use? What kinds of notebook colors? I even know some people who will journal on individual sheets of paper and like throw it out after they finish. So yeah, so think through what you want your tools to look like as well, because that's a big and fun part of it as well. And if you look over to this side, I have an example. One thing you can say, I intend to journal to discover who I am and what I want. So you can have like a specific intention like that. And then say what you will utilize. Like I will utilize notebooks and Post-its maybe to achieve this intention. So yes, before we even get started, it's important to think about what you want your journaling practice to actually look like. So start there. Alrighty, any questions about that? Any reflections about that? What journaling intentions do you typically have? Or reflective mediums do you usually use? Also, I see that Orb wrote, that's what I'm doing soon. I want to make an art journal for an upcoming trip so I can build some happy memories. Absolutely. Love that. Yes. And that can be really fun. I like it. We'll talk a little bit about how to make interactive journals as well with other people. But I like it as well when you do it for a specific trip, because then you're like, cool, like whenever I need to remember something about that trip to Italy, about that trip to Florida, I can go to that specific journal and everything I want is like there. So I love that example. And yes, Megan, yeah, sticky notes are great. I also know a lot of people are interested in bullet journaling. And in bullet journaling, you use all types of stuff. I'm not that creative to do bullet journaling, but I see people who will do sticky notes and sticky like stickers and different things to sort of like guide you through the journal itself. So yeah, let's be like as creative as we want to be when it comes to this. I've been doing some journaling on Trello recently. I'm obsessed with Trello. Trello is like amazing. And yeah, I'll just put like, I've been doing some fun like mood management stuff through there where I like write about like my current moods, and I'll just go in and like do like a snapshot of my day as I go throughout. And it's not typical journaling, but it feels good and it's helpful, and I can still have a record of how I was feeling on specific days. So yeah, absolutely. So many different ways. Try to be as creative as you can. There's a lot more like journaling and reflection that we do throughout our day than we think. Awesome. Okay. So that being said, we're going to dive into the meat of this presentation and start to do some journaling and some thinking through journaling. So what we are going to do, here we go. All right. So Avengers Assemble. I'm super excited, by the way. I'm like getting into it. I'm like a big Marvel fan. I like watched all the movies during the pandemic, and now I go to the premieres. So that's what I spent my time doing. And yeah, Doctor Strange comes out tomorrow. And yeah, so Avengers Assemble, we're going back to the first movie. That's the Avengers that we're going to stick with for today. But I have this message here, and I'll just guide you through this. Welcome. You are on a mission to have the best life you possibly can. And what we know is that your relationship with yourself and the people you surround yourself with can make or break that mission. That being said, it's time to armor up and create the teams we'd like to take into the future with us. A few notes before we set off. Team members can be anyone. So I'll explain what this means a little bit as we go throughout. But as we're creating our Avengers teams, team members can be you, celebrities, best friends, chosen family, blood family, whoever you want to add. It could be books, it could be pets. So try to be like, once again, like we want to be as creative as possible when we're coming up with who our team is. And then two, of course, share your thoughts in the chat if you feel comfortable as we go on. I'd love to see what you all come up with. And there we go. That being said, Avengers Assemble, and we can dive into it. So what I'd like us to do is we're actually going to take like 5 minutes real quick and interact with this pre-journal prompt before we get into the deeper journal prompts for today. So we are building, as you read on the last slide, we are building an Avengers team that we can use for our support. And these are people who are already in our life, people we want to come into our life, friends, pets, whoever else. And so if you have seen the movies, you know that Nick Fury is the person who organized the Avengers, went out and got the different people to bring them to the Avengers. And so to start, I think what Nick Fury here is teaching us is that we have to have a mission in mind. We have to have some sort of idea of what we'd like life to look like. So we're going to take just 5 minutes real quick, and I'd like you to think through these 3 questions. 1, what do you want to accomplish in the near future? And in your lifetime in general. So what are some of the things, just like what do you want to see? And it can be things as like big as I want to go back to grad school, I want a new job, or it can be I want to like get outside every day. I want to like have a better time with my like mom when I spend time with her. So it can be like those really big things we like or the smaller things that we're working through. Two, how do you want to show up on a daily basis? And what do you want to be known for? So I like to think about it as like if you were starting your Avengers team right now, in the same way that Nick Fury did, you would be like, what do I want this group to be in charge of? What do I want them to be known for? How do I want people to respond to them? So start to think through that as well. And feel free, once again, to journal however you would like, via text and phone or writing, whatever feels good. And then three, what do you want your community to look like? So what kinds of people do you want around you? People, like I often think whenever I'm thinking of if I was doing this activity, well, I will do this activity with you all. When I think of like a mission of like, okay, cool, I'm creating my Avengers team. The people who are going to be on my side, and this is probably true for you too, being here with Fandom Forward, these are going to be activists. These are going to be people who love to learn, people who are committed to their self-growth, people who have great book recommendations. So these are just a few of the people that I would want on my Avengers team to like create the life that I want the most. So yeah, so start to think through those questions. We'll just take 5 minutes real quick and go through those, and then we'll come back together and share. Feel free as well to write your responses in the chat if you'd like. So if you want to like write them while we're getting ready to share, then that works as well. Well, let's just take 5 minutes. We'll reconvene at 7:27. Oh, or 8:27, depending on where you are. Okay, 5 minutes. I feel like I should put on like Avengers music or something, but I don't. We'll do this in silence. Feel free to put on like whatever music works for you. Okay, take 2 more minutes and then we'll come back together. All right, and coming back. Awesome. So feel free to share whatever you wrote in the chat about how you are going to organize your Avengers team. For myself, I wrote, like, I have a few goals that I'm interested in, but I really focused on the idea of, like, how I want to show up. So if I were I've always connected with superheroes who are more in the vein of, Charles Xavier, like X-Men. This is a different group. But I think of like Charles Xavier like being a teacher, being very like asking people good questions that help them to grow and learn. So that's sort of how I want to show up in spaces. I think of it as like auntie energy, just like free auntie energy, just helping out people and living my best life. So knowing that that's how I want to show up, the types of people I want in my life, definitely a diverse community of people who are fun, people who are committed to their self-growth, and who are intentional about how they build community as well. So all of those things are some of the things I wrote, but feel free to share in the chat if you have anything that you wrote about the type of community that you would like in your life, and how you want to build your team. All right, so feel free to share, and we will move on, though, as people put in their things. Okay, so community prompts. So what we're going to do now is we sort of identified what we would like the mission to look like, and who we would like to be in our team on our side, and how we would like to show up in a team as well. And so now we're going to break it down, get even deeper into the Avengers world, and we're going to talk a little bit about how we can bring that community into our lives. Excuse me, I am also like, my allergies are messing me up today, but I'm in Chicago. The weather is insane. It is just going back and forth. And yes, just some things in the chat. Nerds with big hearts, adore that. Yes. That is the community. I see it. And then also, the idea that pets can for sure be in your community. Absolutely. Pets, honestly, just like animal energy in general. Just like any of that stuff. Spirits, deities, whatever is important to you can be in your community. But okay. Moving forward, community prompts. All right, so what I'm going to do is go over just briefly. Hopefully you're familiar with the films. I will not be giving any spoilers or anything, luckily. But just some different people that are a part of the Avengers and how we can build the community that we would like to see. So the first person we'll focus on is Iron Man. We're not going to do journaling for each of these people because that would just be like a very long time. But with Iron Man, what I think about when I think about Iron Man is somebody who's very intelligent, somebody who's very, spoiler-free zone. Somebody who's very intelligent, but he's also like, if you have seen the movies, he's a person who's very challenging in a lot of ways. Maybe there's some privilege there for sure. But just like he challenges you and the way that you think, he asks really, really good questions. So I sort of he's also a genius. So I associate Iron Man with the mind. So journal about someone. So some journaling prompts you could do with him. And what I want you to think about as you're choosing who Iron Man is in your group. A person who challenges you, a person who makes you think, or somebody or something that makes you think. So once again, it doesn't have to be a person. It could also be a pet. It could be an object. For me, I could be like, oh my gosh, like books. Like Iron Man is books in my group. Like that's where I get all of my like stimulation from, my mental stimulation. But I also have a journal prompt at the bottom about ways, about thinking about like how you can connect with these two. So with Iron Man, a good prompt would be journal about the ways you've challenged members in your community. So what are some ways that you have asked questions that have disrupted systems that are not helpful? What are some ways that you've held people accountable? What are some new ideas that you've come up with that can help as well? So that's sort of what we're going to think about with Iron Man. And I'm going to go through these fast, but then we're going to sit down and actually like come up with our teams. The second person is Captain America. I have my issues. Obviously. I have my issues with Captain America to a certain extent. Just because America. But with Captain America, the ideal or the idea is around community and citizenship. So what does it mean to be a part of a group? What does it mean to like give back to your community? Those are some of the things that I think of when I think of Captain America, ideally. And so with him, you want to think about people in your life who you associate with community and citizenship. Or for you personally, how does community and citizenship show up in your life? If we're going back to what Orb said about nerds with big hearts, who are those people? Where do you find them? Who's somebody who embodies that idea or that ideal? So those are the first two, Iron Man and Captain America. Then we have, oh no, it got cut out. Okay, well, cool. So I have Black Widow. I don't know why the bottom of hers got cut out. But when I think of Black Widow, I think of somebody who's very cunning, somebody who's very strategic, just like it's sort of based off of the spider. She does not do anything very like, it's like manipulation, but in like a positive way, like not in a bad way. She's very cunning and strategic and sort of knows like what to do in tough situations. So with Black Widow, I want you to think about ways that you show up and are strategic and maybe have to navigate systems even that are not helpful or healthy. And then journal in general about someone who is strategic in your life. Like, who is that person where these are the people who you would go to for, oh my gosh, I got a new job, I have to negotiate salary, I need to go to somebody who helps me like wade through that sort of thing, right? Who has like the keys to understanding certain systems and things like that. So that's what you're going to do for Black Widow, or that's who you're going to think through for Black Widow. Next is the Hulk. Journal about someone in your life, obviously, like Hulk smash, like who is powerful, and powerful can mean a lot of different things. So I also want to mention power does not have to mean like systematic power and that they have a position of power or anything like that. It can also be internal power. It can be confidence. It can be somebody you think of who's very resilient, or maybe who you've learned a lot about resilience from. Honestly, resilience can be used with a lot of these superheroes, but with the Hulk, I thought it made sense. So I want you to think about that in terms of like, who are the people in your life who, like, if you're thinking of Hulk smash, like these are, to me, like I would say that these are the people in my life, like the fire signs. So if you're a Sagittarius, if you're an Aries, if you're a Leo, these are the people in my life that I go to be like, oh my gosh, like I have to have a tough conversation today. I'm really nervous about it. And they're like, go in there and be bold and be daring and you do it because you can do it and you're amazing. So these are the people in my life who get me like, yeah. Yes. Who like really push me. So think about these people as well. And then the last two, we have Thor and Hawkeye. So with Thor, I connect him with legacy and ancestry because a big part of his power is through his hammer, and his hammer is like really important to his home and his people. And so a close person to this obviously would also be Black Panther. I also think of Black Panther as somebody, ancestry and legacy are very important. So with Thor, I want you to think about a close member of your chosen or blood family. Once again, it could be pets, it could be whoever else. It does not have to be somebody you're related to by blood. But what are the things you've learned from them that you hope to carry on in your life? And then also with you personally, what is your legacy? What do you hope will be your legacy? What do you want to leave for future generations? So whenever I think of Thor, I usually think of those larger themes of like, where is the world going? Where am I coming from? Where am I going? And how can I like connect those two things in the present? And then with Hawkeye, lastly, obviously Hawkeye is an archer? I'm sorry. I'm forgetting words, but yes, I believe that's what he has, a bow and arrow. And so with him, obviously he's known for being really precise in terms of like he has to hit bullseyes and things like that. And so, with him, I'd like you to think about clarity and focus. So, who are the people in your life you get clarity from? These could be people that are mentors, these could be teachers, these could be maybe there's a specific book or a specific influencer that you really connect to. And how do they help you to gain focus? And then also, just in general, thinking about focus. Do you currently feel in alignment with your dreams, goals? Do you feel like you have a clear target of what you're trying to hit next in your career or your goals? Or are you more just like seeing what happens? So those are those two, Thor and Hawkeye. And then awesome. So now we're actually going to journal just a little bit. We're actually going to create our teams. So what I'd like you to do is create your Avengers team. I'm going to do this activity as well. I've been looking forward to doing it. And so I have like the typical people up there, like we went over: Iron Man, Innovation and Learning; Captain America, Community and Citizenship; Black Widow, Strategy, or Planning, as Orb said in the chat; Hulk, Power and Resilience; Black Widow, Strategy. Yeah. Oh, sorry. I wrote Black Widow twice. Hawkeye, Focus; and then Thor, Ancestry and Legacy. So we have those people. Try to think of people who can fit into those groups. Once again, people, pets, influencers. Some of these for me are definitely going to be like celebrities who I connect with. But then also because we are breaking down, like we're breaking out of just the typical Avengers group, also think who else do you want on your team. So these could be other superheroes. Maybe you have a specific area of life that's not represented here. So who are those people that you can like add in as well? So you could be like, oh, I'm going to bring in, let me think of another. I'm going to bring in Shang-Chi because he's known for his integrity. And so when I think of Shang-Chi, I think of this person. And so I'm going to add them into my Avengers team as well, even if he's not in the typical Avengers, right? So yeah, so you have this list. What I'd like you to do is we'll just take, once again, like 5 minutes or so and create our Avengers team. So who are we going to add? I'm going to do this as well because I'm a nerd and I'm really excited about it. And then we'll come back together and maybe share our teams or like things that we learned from these different people, pets, influences in our life. So cool. We are at 7:39. We'll come back together in like 5 minutes or so. And we'll come back together soon. And feel free, by the way, once again, like try to keep this in like one area. If you're starting off a new journal today, this could be a really cute like ending of the journal where you have it, your Avengers team on the last page, or you have it on the first page to start off your journal. So just want to put that out there as well. Awesome. Okay, so take a few minutes. Okay, take like 2 more minutes and then we'll come back together and share. All right, so we're coming back together. Hopefully, you've created your Avengers team. And once again, if you'd like to share in the comments, feel free to. I also did this activity, and I will share like 2 of mine. Excuse me. So for Captain America to me, once again, community and citizenship. And I actually wrote, I hope I'm pronouncing their name right, Leah Lakshmi Piepzana Samarasinha, I think is how you say her name, say their name. But they are the author of Care Work, and they're a person, I read Care Work at the beginning of this year. Care Work has to do with disability justice. And yeah, when I read that book, it really got me thinking about accessible spaces and like, do we do a good job of making sure that everybody feels included and feels safe and comfortable in spaces? The answer is often no, unfortunately. And so, yeah, so for me, they really changed the way that I see community and the way that I see like spaces in general. And so I put them as like one of my people, like in my community, because I will read everything this person makes, like going forward, because of how much that book transformed me. It's called Care Work, once again, if you ever are interested in disability justice, which you should be. And then for the Hulk, I put my friend Megan, who is just, Megan is not a fire sign, but Megan has a lot of like fiery energy. Whenever I go through, even recently, like going through a like job search, I was like, oh, should I ask for this much? I don't know. And they were like, yes, you should. You're fantastic. You're amazing. Like you should like, so just the type of person who's like, you can do anything. You are I will not curse. You are, awesome. So you can do anything. And so, yeah, so they sort of helped me to smash through the different, internalized things that I have going on in my mind that are like, no, well, I should be like, I shouldn't ask for as much because I don't want to cause a problem, like things like that. So those are 2 of the people in my community for my Avengers team. And then Robin wrote, your connecting of superhero and characteristics is awesome. Yes, thank you. I'm glad that I hope that this worked. I was like, I'm new to the Marvel fan base, so I don't want anyone coming to me after this presentation like, Iron Man would definitely be this thing. So I was like nervous. So I'm glad to hear that the characteristics worked out. But yes, I'd love to know in the chat if you'd like to put like, who are the people in your community that you put down for some of these things? People, celebrities, pets, once again, like anything, for any of these different things, if you'd like to share. Oh, and also, yes, okay. Awesome. Yeah. And just remember too, and we'll talk about this in a second, like this group can change, this group can transform. You may have people sometimes in your life who are more of an Iron Man, and then for a bit they're a Hawkeye, and then for a bit they're something else. So people are multifaceted and come into your life for different things and offer different things. And some of them will be a part of your group for a little bit and then not be there later on, right? So it's okay to keep that in mind, that that's something that happens as well. But awesome. Okay, so moving on. Okay. And Orb wrote, my nephew is my Hulk. He's always cheering me on no matter what. That's so cute. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah. And I love that example as well because I feel like my husband is my Hawkeye. I want this to just be normalized that we go around yeah, my friend is such a Captain America. I just want it to be normalized at this point. Yeah, thank you all so much for sharing. I love that. Yeah, and that's what I mean. And we know this, these characters are archetypes, right? They're archetypes of different characteristics in our lives that are important to us. And so that's why I love using Avengers specifically for it, because they're a team. They're supposed to complement each other and bring different things to the dynamic. So makes total sense. And then, I also think, and I do want to make this point before we move on, I also think, too, that sometimes, we are not in the place to, sometimes unfortunately, our community isn't exactly what we want it to be. So you may not have even enough people to really fill out this list, in terms of, friends or, family or, people you know. But that's why I also think it's important to think about how you can bring these different things to your own life as well. When am I my own Black Widow, advocating for myself and using strategy to get what I need? When am I my own Captain? When am I my own Hawkeye, offering myself focus and clarity and grounding myself? So also think about it in that way too. How can I show up for me? How can I be a good community member for myself as well? And yes, Megan. Oh, that's so cool. Yeah, definitely. I think it's just it's a fun concept. So definitely down for that. But awesome. So moving forward, I won't have us do this just because I think this will take a little more time. But if you'd like to in the chat, just one thing to think about. Who is one person on your team? Why are you grateful they're in your life? Some of you already wrote these in. Or another thing is, what is one positive memory you have of your connection with them? So this is a good way to just remind yourself. This goes into that gratitude journaling. That's really, really, really helpful for our mental health and shows, is research-based and shows that there's a lot of good benefits of it. So yeah, I think often what we'll do, especially if you're like me, you'll journal about your day. You'll journal I just have so much I'm going through and this is happening and this is happening. But I think also journaling to remember, I will never forget the day that this happened and that was a really special moment with me and this person. So journaling to remember moments that mattered a lot to you is also really important. And yeah, absolutely. Definitely some gratefulness in the chat. 12 nieces and nephews. Wow. Speaking of Avengers, there's a lot of people. That's in-game status. That's too many people. Yeah, no, absolutely. Thinking, and that's another thing too. I'm sorry. I should have said community does not just have to be in person either. Community can also be virtual communities. I have some corners of Reddit that feel very healthy and very good for me. Corners, once again, because Reddit is a lot. So thinking about that as well, where are these, anywhere you can sort of make community, and how that shows up for you. Awesome. Okay, and then sort of wrapping up just a little bit, here, so some other suggestions for how to engage with, we're calling it support system journaling, or journaling while keeping in mind your support system. Add community members into your journaling practice. So this is actually a really big one. I adore doing this. I haven't done it for a while, but I had a friend in college that I actually shared a journal with, and we would write like little like posts, like if we were like together somewhere, like having a picnic or something, we'd exchange like journals, and then I would write in hers, she would write in mine, or we had like a central journal. I had a central journal with a partner for a bit that was really fun, where like I would write something one day and he would write something the next. And so yeah, so like doing things like that where you're connecting with somebody and sort of like sharing their like thoughts. Of course it's okay to have like your own personal journal that like nobody can read and things like that. But it's also nice to like share. I've also found it really special too when I've had friends who have opened up to me like with their journal, and they've been like, I want to read you this piece that I wrote the other day, or I would love to read to you about like this experience I had that I wrote about. So yeah, so many ways to connect with people via your journal. An idea. Okay, so I did this once and it was so fun, and honestly, I need to do it again. Create like a yearbook page in your journal where people can write words of affirmation. I mean, it feels sort of weird to just go up to friends and be like, hi, I need you to write how great I am in this journal. But I think like it's just like a fun thing. What I did one time, I think I was going through a tough time or something like that, or yeah, I was just going through a tough time. And so I asked a few friends, like I was like, would you write like a short like inspirational message in this journal so that like when I'm flipping through it and when I'm working on it, I can always look back to your message and like see that. So that's a really cute way to just like have that affirmation there and feel connected with the people in your life. Another thing is, and I think somebody mentioned this earlier, collecting things, like Post-its, stickers, cards, ticket stubs. So do a little bit of what's that called? A little bit of, when you, scrapbooking, just like a tiny bit, where you keep like the different things from your past experiences in this journal. I feel like that's a great idea just to remember, like, here's who I was during that time. I'm also a big fan of writing letters to yourself as well and like sending them. So, when I was in, grad school, I was at Ohio State, and what I did is I was living in New Jersey before I went to Ohio State. And so I wrote a letter to myself and then sent the letter ahead to my future address so that I could like get to Ohio State. And it was funny because I got there and I didn't get it for a few weeks, and I had like one bad day. And then I actually got the letter that day, and I was like, my past self knew. Speaking of multiverses, I connected with my past self, whatever. Anyways, yes. So doing things like that too, where you're like being that like hero for yourself and like supporting yourself by sending yourself something ahead of time, or like writing an inspirational message that you can go back to in your journal. I feel like those are good ways to show yourself some love, and also to be grateful for the people in your life. Another thing that you can do is write down and keep quotes from influences in your life in your journal. I have this quote here, #cite your friends. So something I've done for a bit is whenever a friend says something that is funny or says something that is insightful, I will literally cite them. Like I'll have like their last name, comma, 2022 in my journal just to remember like they said this. It's also helpful for like, because I think, you know, if you're going to use other people's jokes or like say something that somebody said, I think it's good to cite people and say like, this is something this person offered to me. But yeah, keep quotes. And it could be from friends, but it could also be from authors, celebrities, influencers that you love as well. So keep those quotes on you. And then, yeah, and as I put in the last section, add and take away members of your Avengers team as time goes on. So you may, like, add somebody who has, like, Black Panther energy, take away somebody who has Iron Man because you're just trying to relax, add in somebody else. And so your community will fluctuate and change as you grow and change and transition. I think it could even be fun, and this is just off the top of my head, it could be fun to have different Avengers teams for different periods of life. So like those friends that you know when you're like moving or when you're going through stressful events, you need them. Those friends you know that like over the summer you always spend time with, it could be like seasonal. And so yeah, so also think about that too, like who is in your life in certain seasons, who works best in your life in certain seasons. So that could also be a really great journal prompt if you haven't thought about that before. But yeah, any other tips, tricks, journaling, like things that you all like love to talk about? before I take some questions, if need be, or ways that you've noticed that journaling works. And also, sorry, just to maintain this, I think it's actually on the next slide. Yes. Okay. I will say this too. Remember, you are in charge of your journaling practice. So for the people at the beginning who are like, oh, I feel so bad because like I never journal, or like I thought I was going to journal, but I haven't been doing it. Don't feel bad. Journaling is similar. It's just like books. Like they're going to be there when you want them and they're not going to be there when you don't want them. And either way, it doesn't matter. So also I think once again, if you take journaling out of that official, I write or I, post in my journal, if you take it out of that and instead think about it as being reflection, you reflect every day in different ways. You take notes, you talk to friends, you write poetry, you do a lot of different things. So count that as journaling. So when you start to feel like, oh, I'm not doing what I said I do, I'm not journaling every morning, that's okay. You're doing it in some way. You're being reflective and intentional with your life, which is really what we're looking for. So don't put too much pressure on yourself, especially for my perfectionists out there. There's no need. You're not being graded. It's solely for you. So awesome. Yeah. So cool. So I got to the end. We got to the end. So if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. These can be questions about support systems, journaling, mental health, anything that we sort of talked about over the course of the presentation. And also I have my Instagram up there and my website as well, if you'd like to follow me on either platform, or reach out. Like I mentioned, I'm a life coach. I also do, I do book reviews on Instagram. Honestly, that's mostly what I do. But always down to chat more about journaling and how it can enrich your life. I'm here for any questions. And if not, thank you all so much. This was so great. I really appreciate your comments, and thank you. Thanks, Megan. Appreciate it. Megan said my Instagram is amazing, so just putting out that endorsement. You want to give a girl a follow or something. I don't know, whatever. But yes, okay. Any questions at all? Once again, you can also send questions to me on either of those platforms. But yes, this was so great. This was so fun. I'm glad I got to do something Marvel themed. This is a dream. So thanks for being so nice and for participating as well. I really appreciate it. Alrighty, thank you so much. Thanks, Robin. Bye all.